Hello students, welcome to Time Classes. This session is Geometry 2, in which we are going to look at the theorems and properties related to quadrilaterals and circles, and we'll look at different problems in which we'll apply the properties and see how to solve them. So let's begin with the session. I hope you are ready for the session and have the required handout, which is QAT 3541507. So what is a quadrilateral? First of all, let's look at a general quadrilateral, and then we will look at the special cases or specific types of quadrilaterals like parallelograms, rectangles, squares, rhombus, trapezium, all those things. So any four-sided closed figure is known as a quadrilateral. Okay, so quadrilateral is a plane figure, closed figure having four sides. So since it has four sides, it will also have four angles, and the sum of all the four angles of a quadrilateral is equal to 360 degree. Okay, in a quadrilateral, the sum of all the angles is always 360 degree. Okay, so let's look at this example. So this ABCD is a quadrilateral in this figure. Okay, and as you see, the line AC is known as diagonal of the quadrilateral. Similarly, you can also join BD. If you join BD, then you will get the second diagonal also. So quadrilateral always has two diagonals. Fine. And when do you get the diagonals? When you join the opposite vertices through a line segment. Okay. So a quadrilateral will have two diagonals. So let us say we have drawn one diagonal, which is AC, and you see two more lines, right? BE and DF. So BE is perpendicular to AC and DF is perpendicular to AC again. So the perpendicular drawn from opposite vertices on a diagonal, these two perpendiculars are known as offsets. So here in this figure, BE and DF are the offsets drawn to diagonal AC. Okay. So if we do this, we can find the area of the quadrilateral using this formula. So for any quadrilateral, area of a quadrilateral is given by half into the length of one diagonal into sum of the offsets drawn to that diagonal. Okay. So for example, in this figure, if you look at the area will be equal to half of the length of the diagonal AC, okay, into length of the sum of the length of the offsets. So offsets are BE and DF. Okay. So for this figure, this will be the area of the quadrilateral. So half into any one diagonal into sum of the offsets drawn to that diagonal. That gives you the area of a quadrilateral. Fine. So in this figure, as you see, the area of the quadrilateral is this, half into AC into BE plus DF. Okay, I hope this point is clear. So let's look at a question based on quadrilateral. So the question says the diagonal AC of a quadrilateral ABCD measures 12 centimeters. The length of the perpendicular to it from B and D measures 6 centimeters and 8 centimeters. So these perpendiculars are nothing but offsets on the diagonal AC. So what is the area of the quadrilateral? It's a very simple application of what we just learned. So if we draw the figure like this, it will be the same figure as we have seen in the previous slide. So ABCD is the quadrilateral, AC is the diagonal which measures 12 centimeter. The length of the perpendiculars drawn from B and D measures 6 centimeter and 8 centimeters. So BE is 6 and DF is 8 and this AC is 12. So what will be the area? Area will be half into AC into BE plus DF, half into any one diagonal into sum of the offsets on that diagonal. So put the values, half into the length of AC is 12 and BE plus DF is 6 plus 8. So when you calculate this, you will get 84 as the answer. Okay. So the area of this quadrilateral is 84 units. The correct answer is option C. Fine. I hope this is clear. This is a very straightforward example of the property that we have learned in the previous slide. Okay, let us move ahead. Now, going ahead, let's look at some special quadrilaterals, starting with parallelograms. So there is a complete family of parallelograms which include parallelogram, that includes rectangle, that includes square, and that includes rhombus. So we can say rectangle, square, and rhombus, these are all special types of parallelogram. Okay. There is a complete family of parallelograms in which we have parallelogram, rectangle, square, and rhombus. So let us first look at the general case of a parallelogram. Fine. So this is the figure of a parallelogram. So it's a quadrilateral in which both pairs of opposite sides are parallel and they are equal also. So AB is parallel to CD. So opposite sides are parallel. Similarly, this AD is parallel to BC, and also opposite sides are equal. So AB will be equal to CD, and similarly AD will be equal to BC. So opposite sides are equal and parallel. Okay. Let's look at other properties. Both pairs of opposite sides are equal and they are parallel also. We have already discussed this. Both pair of opposite angles are equal. So this entire angle is equal to this entire angle, and similarly this entire angle is equal to this entire angle. Fine. Sum of any two adjacent angles is 180 degree. So this angle A, and this angle B, these two will be supplementary angles. Okay. Similarly, angle B plus angle C is supplementary. Angle C and angle D, they are also supplementary. Angle D and angle A, they are also supplementary. So any two adjacent angles are supplementary and opposite angles are equal. Okay. So supplementary means sum is 180 degrees. So that is what is written here. Each diagonal divides the parallelogram into two congruent triangles. Okay. So if you look at diagonal BD, then this diagonal divides the entire parallelogram into two congruent triangles. So when you look at the diagonal BD, then triangle ABD and triangle DCB, they will be congruent. Similarly, if you look at the diagonal AC, then triangle ACD and triangle ABC, they will also be congruent. And also the diagonals bisect each other, which means this point will be the midpoint of AC also and BD also. That is the meaning of diagonals bisect each other. Fine. So they will pass through the midpoints of each other. Okay. Now another property in case of parallelogram is this: the figure formed by joining the midpoints of the sides of any quadrilateral taken in order is a parallelogram. So that is true for any quadrilateral. So you have a quadrilateral, let's say PQRS. If you take the midpoints of all the four sides and if you join them in order, then the resulting figure that you will get will always be a parallelogram. So since this property is true for any quadrilateral, it will be true for parallelogram also, square also, rectangle also, trapezium also, all the quadrilaterals. So we can safely say that in case of parallelogram ABCD, if I join the midpoints of the four sides, if I join the midpoints of all these four sides, then we will get another parallelogram. Okay, then we will get another parallelogram, and that parallelogram, the new parallelogram which is formed, will have its area half of the area of the original parallelogram. Fine. Okay. So for any parallelogram, what is the area? Area is base into height. So suppose if I take BC as the base, then remember height will not be AB. The height will be the perpendicular length. So if you drop a perpendicular from A to BC, then this is the height. So area can be calculated as length of BC, which is the base, into the height, which is H. And there is one more formula for finding the area of a parallelogram. Area can also be found as product of two adjacent sides into sine of the included angle. So for example, I can take side BC, I can take side CD and into sine of angle C. So if you take this side and this side, then you have to take this as included angle. So you can also get the area of a parallelogram using this formula. Product of any two sides, any two adjacent sides, product of two adjacent sides into sine of the angle between those two sides. Okay. And if you have to find the perimeter, then perimeter is always the length of the boundary. So you add all the four sides. Since opposite sides are equal, so twice the sum of the opposite sides will give you the perimeter of a parallelogram. Fine. Also there is one more thing you will notice. So in this figure, if you draw both the diagonals, you will get four triangles. This triangle, this triangle, this triangle, this triangle. They will all have equal areas. Okay. All these four triangles that you see, they will have equal areas. Fine. Okay, let's look at a problem based on parallelogram. So question says ABCD is a parallelogram having an area of 40 root 3 square centimeters. EFGH are the midpoints of side AB, BC, CD and DA respectively. The question is asking you to find the area of the quadrilateral EFGH. Fine. So let's draw a diagram first. So this ABCD is a parallelogram. G is the midpoint of CD, H is the midpoint of AD, E is the midpoint of AB and F is the midpoint of BC. So if you join the midpoints of all the sides, this new figure formed, which is the quadrilateral EFGH, will be a parallelogram. Right? We have discussed this property a few minutes back. So if you join the midpoints of the sides of any quadrilateral, the new figure formed will be a parallelogram. So this EFGH is a parallelogram for sure. And the area of this EFGH will be half of the area of the entire bigger parallelogram, which is ABCD. This is also one property that I mentioned. So area of this quadrilateral EFGH will be half of the area of the bigger parallelogram, which is ABCD. So what is the area of parallelogram ABCD? It is 40 root 3. So what will be the area of the parallelogram EFGH? It will be just half of 40 root 3. Fine. So it will be 40 root 3 divided by 2, which is 20 root 3. So the area of parallelogram EFGH will be 20 root 3. Fine. Okay. Let's move ahead. What is a rectangle? So as I told you, rectangle, square and rhombus, they are special cases of a parallelogram. So rectangle will satisfy the properties of parallelogram plus some additional property that we'll see. So this is the figure of a parallelogram. As you see, this angle B is 90 degree and actually all the angles will be 90 degree. So angle A is also 90 degree, angle D is also 90 degree, angle C is also 90 degree. So in this figure, opposite sides are parallel and equal. So this is equal to this is equal to this, and opposite sides are parallel also. So this side is parallel to this side is parallel to this side. So this is same as the property of parallelogram. Okay. So extra property is this, that each of the angles in a rectangle is 90 degree. Fine. Diagonals are equal in this case. In case of a rectangle, diagonals are equal. Okay. And diagonals definitely bisect each other. Diagonals bisect each other is same as the property of the parallelogram, but additionally each angle in a rectangle is 90 degree. And also diagonals are equal in a rectangle. Diagonals will not be equal in the case of a normal parallelogram. Okay. In case of rectangle, diagonals will be equal. In case of square also diagonals will be equal. But diagonals will not be equal in all the parallelograms. Fine. So what is the area of a rectangle? This you already remember. Area of a rectangle is length into breadth. We know that. So let us say BC is length and CD is breadth. So area will be length into breadth, L into B, and perimeter will be twice of L plus B. Right? Perimeter is twice of L plus B. L is the length, B is the breadth of the rectangle. And how to get the diagonal of a rectangle? Square root of L square plus B square, where L is length and B is breadth. This is basically nothing but use of Pythagoras theorem. We can calculate diagonal also if length and breadth is given. Fine. I hope the properties are clear. Let's look at a question here based on rectangle. So this is a figure. Figure is given in the question. The figure says ABCD is a rectangle, and also EF, the line segment EF is perpendicular to the line segment DC. Okay. So EF is perpendicular to CD as you see in the figure, and FC is equal to 25. So FC is equal to 25. Alright. And some length is already given in the figure. If you see carefully, length of DE is 8 and length of CE is 20. Fine. And FC is given as 25. So they are asking you to find what is the ratio of the perimeter of triangle DCF, which is triangle DCF, this triangle. Triangle DCF. So DCF is this triangle. And rectangle ABCD. Rectangle ABCD is this entire rectangle. So we have to get the ratio of the perimeters of this triangle DCF to that of the perimeter of rectangle ABCD. Okay. So let's try and find out the required ratio. Now look closely here. Look at triangle ECF. Look at triangle ECF. It's a right angle triangle because this angle is 90 degree, isn't it? It's a right angle triangle, right? So in right angle triangle, if two sides are given, can I find the third side? Yes, we can find the third side. How? Using Pythagoras theorem. So can I say the length of EF will be square root of 25 square minus 20 square. I am just using Pythagoras theorem. So calculating this, you can get the value of EF, and we can do it otherwise also. If you remember the Pythagorean triplets, you would remember this is a Pythagorean triplet, right? 3, 4, 5 is a Pythagorean triplet. And if I multiply any Pythagorean triplet by a common number, which means if I multiply a common number to all the three numbers in a Pythagorean triplet, the new numbers which are generated, they are also Pythagorean triplets. So if I multiply all of them by 5, I should be getting 15. 3 into 5 is 15, 4 into 5 is 20, and 5 into 5 is 25. So as you can see, we already have 5 into 5, 25 here. We already have 4 into 5, 20 here. So the remaining side must be 3 into 5, which is 15. So by using Pythagorean triplet, I can get my value for EF very easily. You can do this also, there is no harm. But if you remember this, then it becomes easier. So this is going to be 15. Fine. So from the given data, by the use of Pythagoras theorem or by the use of concept of Pythagorean triplet, we can get EF is 15. Okay. Now we will again apply Pythagoras theorem in triangle DEF. Triangle DEF is also right angle triangle. Let's apply Pythagoras theorem once again. In this case, you know this is 15. So EF is 15 and ED is 8. So what should be the length of hypotenuse DF? Again, you can apply Pythagoras theorem, but if you remember the Pythagorean triplets, 8, 15, 17. So 17 should be this side. So length of DF should be 17. Okay. Fine. So this much part we have got. Alright. So now with the data that we have just found out, can we now get the required ratio? Yes, we can get the required ratio. What is the perimeter of triangle DCF? Perimeter of triangle DCF is DF, which is 17, DC, which is 8 plus 20. So 8 plus 20 is 28 and CF which is 25. So add all the three sides. So we'll get 17 plus DC is 28 plus CF is 25. So when you add them you will get 70. And what is the perimeter of rectangle ABCD? So rectangle ABCD has the length as CD which is 8 plus 20 28. And what is the breadth? Breadth is AD and the length of AD will be same as the length of EF. So whatever is the length of EF, that same will be the length of AD also. So length is 28 and breadth is 15. So what is the perimeter? Twice of L plus B. So twice of 28 plus 15 which is 86. Okay. So perimeter of triangle DCF, perimeter of rectangle ABCD. So what is the ratio of these two perimeters? The required ratio is 70 is to 86. When you divide both of them by 2, you will get 35 is to 43. So answer is 35 is to 43. Fine. I hope this is clear. Okay. Let's move ahead and see the properties of a square. So a square also is a family member of parallelogram, and to be more precise, a square is a special type of rectangle. So in a way we can say all squares are rectangles. All rectangles might not be square. Okay, all squares are rectangles and with some special property. Which are the special properties? So a square is a rectangle in which all four sides are equal. So all four sides are equal. Opposite sides are parallel also. Opposite sides are definitely parallel. Each angle is 90 degree. Each angle is 90 degree. What about diagonals? The diagonals are equal. Diagonals are equal in length and they bisect each other at right angles. So here is one additional property, that diagonals bisect each other, that is true, but additionally diagonals bisect each other at right angle, or we can say diagonals bisect each other at 90 degree. Okay, so we can say diagonals are perpendicular to each other, or we can say diagonals are perpendicular bisectors of each other. Fine. Okay. So what is the area of a square? Area of a square is side length and square of the side length. You take the side length, square it to get the area. But you can also get the area by using this formula. If you know the diagonal, from the diagonal directly you can get the area like this: half into diagonal square. Half into diagonal square, that also gives you the area. And if you know the side and you have to find the length of diagonal, then root 2 into side, root 2 into side gives you the length of the diagonal. Okay. So length of the diagonal of a square is root 2 into side. What is the perimeter? Perimeter is sum of all the four sides, and since all the sides are of same length, so we can say perimeter will be 4 into side. Fine. I hope this is clear. Okay. Now another property here. When a circle is inscribed in a square, the side of the square is equal to diameter of the circle. So when a circle is inscribed in a square, means this is a square and you inscribe a circle like this. So when you do this, then what will happen? The side of the square is equal to diameter of the circle. So side of the square is same as the diameter of the circle. Okay, same as, in the sense the length of the side will be same as the length of the diameter of the circle. Fine. And another property, when a square is inscribed in a circle, so square is inscribed in a circle means this. So you have a circle and you have a square like this. Okay. So when that happens, when a square is inscribed in a circle, the diagonals become the diameter of the circle. In that case, the diagonal of the square will be the diameter of the circle. Okay. In this case, diagonal of the square will be diameter of the circle. Fine. So I hope all the properties are clear. Let's look at an example. Okay, before that example, let's look at one more property here, which is related to these two properties. the largest rectangle that can be inscribed in a given circle is always a square. Okay. So the largest rectangle that you can inscribe in a circle, so we'll focus on this figure, is always a square. Fine. Okay. So let's look at the example. So this is a question. It tells you in the above figure ABCD is a square and triangle ADE is equilateral. So ABCD is a square and triangle ADE is equilateral. Find angle EFD. Okay, find angle EFD. Fine. So what will be angle DAB? Angle DAB is this angle. This is going to be 90 degree for sure, because this is the angle of a square. Fine. And what is angle DAE? DAE is this angle. Now it is given in the question that triangle DAE is equilateral, and therefore all the angles must be 60 degree, and therefore this angle is also 60 degree. Fine. Okay. Now let's look at this. Angle EAB. Angle EAB means this entire angle. This entire angle becomes 90 plus 60. 90 plus 60 is how much? 150 degree. Right. So this angle is 150 degree. Fine. So this entire angle becomes 150 degree. Okay, let's look at the next step. Triangle EAB is isosceles. Look at triangle EAB. It will be isosceles. How come it is isosceles? Because all these four sides are equal, because these are sides of the square. And for this equilateral triangle AED, AD is one of the sides, and in an equilateral triangle all the sides are equal. So these two sides will be equal to AD. So as you can see, in triangle AEB, these two sides are equal, and therefore this is an isosceles triangle, which means these two angles, if two sides are equal, then opposite angles are also equal, isn't it? So what is the value of these two angles at the corners? So that will be 180 minus 150 divided by 2. So angle AEB will be equal to angle ABE, which I just showed you in the figure. That will be equal to 180 minus 150, because in this triangle AEB, sum of all the three angles must be 180 degree, out of which here the angle is 150 degree. So the sum of other two angles must be 180 minus 150, and since these two angles are equal, you have to divide the difference by 2. So these angles must be 15 degrees. So this is also 15 degrees, and this is also 15 degrees. Okay. Fine. So angle AFB. What will be angle AFB? So now remember, this angle was 90 degree. This angle was 90 degree, and this comes out to be 15 degrees. So what about this angle? 180 minus 90 minus 15. Okay. 180 minus, inside bracket you can write the sum of 90 plus 15. So this angle is 75 degrees. Fine. This angle is 75 degree. So what will be this angle? This angle will also be 75 degree. Why? Because these two are vertically opposite angles, isn't it? Because two straight lines intersect. So whenever two straight lines intersect, vertically opposite angles are equal. So they were asking angle EFD. So angle EFD is 75 degrees. Fine. I hope it is clear how to get angle EFD from the figure. Alright, then let us look at next figure, which is a rhombus. So what is the shape of a rhombus? It is of this shape. So this ABCD is a rhombus. In a rhombus, all the four sides are equal. So rhombus is also a special type of parallelogram with some extra property. So in rhombus, all the four sides are equal and opposite sides are parallel also. So this is parallel to this, and this is parallel to this. Fine. So rhombus is a parallelogram in which all the sides are equal. So if in a parallelogram one pair of adjacent sides are equal, it becomes a rhombus. We can say that. In any parallelogram, if a pair of adjacent sides are equal, then it will become rhombus only. Right? So all the properties of parallelogram will apply for a rhombus also. Further, in case of rhombus, all the sides are equal and diagonals bisect each other at 90 degree. So this property is similar to or same as the property of a square, that diagonals bisect each other at 90 degree, but the diagonals are not equal. Okay, diagonals bisect each other at 90 degree, but the diagonals are not equal. If the diagonals become equal, then it will become a square. Fine. So diagonals bisect each other at 90 degree, or we can say diagonals bisect each other perpendicularly. So all the four triangles that you see here, this and this, they are all congruent. So they are all congruent and they will have equal areas. Fine. So all these four triangles that I showed you in the figure, they will have equal areas. They are all congruent triangles. Further, there is one more thing that you should notice here, that in this case, in the case of a rhombus, the diagonals bisect the opposite angles. In the sense, this angle will be equal to this angle, this angle will be equal to this angle. Similarly, this angle will be equal to this angle, and this angle will be equal to this angle. So diagonals bisect the opposite angles. This happens in the case of a square also. Diagonals bisect the opposite angles, and in case of rhombus also, diagonals bisect the opposite angles. Fine. And this entire angle is equal to this entire angle, because opposite angles are equal in a parallelogram. So here also opposite angles will be equal, and additionally diagonals bisect the opposite angles also. So what is the area of a rhombus? Area of a rhombus is given by this formula, half into product of diagonals. Half into product of diagonals gives you the area of a rhombus. And perimeter, since all the four sides are equal, perimeter is 4 into the side of the rhombus. Fine. Okay, let's look at an example here. In this figure, ABCD is a rhombus and angle ACB is equal to 30 degree. Angle ACB is equal to 30 degree. So this ABCD is a rhombus, this angle is 30 degree, and diagonal AC is x times the diagonal DB. So what is the value of x? Diagonal AC is x times the diagonal DB. What is the value of x? Okay. So now what we know, in case of a rhombus, in a rhombus, opposite pairs of angles are equal and diagonals bisect each other at 90 degree. So this is going to be 90 degree, right? And in this triangle, if you know this is 90 degree and here we have 30 degree, then here it must be 60 degree. Angle sum property in a triangle. So you see, triangle CEB is a right angle triangle with angles as 30, 60 and 90. So this we have learned as a special case of Pythagoras theorem, or special cases of right angle triangle. So as you see, this will become a 30, 60, 90 triangle in which the ratio of the sides will be 1:√3:2. So opposite 30 degree, if this side is 1, then opposite 60 degree, this side will be √3, and opposite 90 degree, this side will be 2. Okay. Now since we know that diagonals bisect each other, can I say the length of AE and length of EC will be equal? So this will also be √3, and the length of DE will be equal to length of BE. So this will also be equal to 1. So AC is x times the diagonal BD. Okay. So the length of the longer diagonal, so as you see, AC, the length will be 2√3, and BD or DB, that is equal to 2. So 2√3 is how many times of 2? 2√3 is how many times of 2? 2√3 is √3 times of 2, isn't it? So we can say the length of the diagonal AC is √3 times that of the diagonal DB, and the question said AC is x times that of diagonal DB. So this x must be equal to this √3. Fine. So what is the value of x? The value of x is root 3. Let's look at the next figure, which is trapezium. What is a trapezium? Now, trapezium is not a parallelogram. First of all, trapezium is a different kind of quadrilateral, and let us see what kind of quadrilateral it is. So if one pair of opposite sides are parallel in any quadrilateral, then it is a trapezium. So in this case, AB and CD are parallel, so this will become a trapezium. Okay. So if one side of a quadrilateral is parallel to the opposite side, then it is called as trapezium. So in any quadrilateral, one pair of opposite sides are parallel, then it is a trapezium. In this case, AB is parallel to CD and AD, BC, these two sides which are not parallel are known as oblique sides. AD and BC are known as oblique sides. You can also call them as non-parallel sides. Okay. Fine. Let's look at isosceles trapezium. Okay. What happens in an isosceles trapezium? So it's a trapezium in which the oblique sides are equal. So if one pair of sides are parallel and the non-parallel sides are equal, then it is an isosceles trapezium. So look at this figure. In this case, this is equal to this. So non-parallel sides are equal. Here we will have a few more properties. So if you draw perpendiculars from these two vertices, from D and from C, if you draw perpendicular on AB, then this dotted line is known as the height. Okay. Now suppose this is E and this is F. So with this dotted line, this figure DCEF, this will become a rectangle. Okay. It means this will be equal to this and this will be equal to this. So this quadrilateral DCEF will become a rectangle, and AF, the length of AF and the length of EB, they will be equal. Okay. So AF will be equal to EB. Furthermore, these two angles will be equal to each other. Alright. And these two angles will also be equal to each other. So this angle C and angle D, they are equal. Angle A and angle B, they are also equal. Fine. Okay. How to find the area of a trapezium? So this is a common formula for any trapezium. It is applicable for the general trapezium also and isosceles trapezium also. So area is given by half into sum of parallel sides into distance between them. Half into sum of parallel sides into distance between them. When we say distance between them, it is a perpendicular distance between them. So in this figure, above figure also, the distance between the parallel lines will be perpendicular distance. Fine. So for example, in this figure, if you look at the area, it will be half into AB plus CD into the distance between the parallel sides is H. Okay, that will be the area. Let's look at an example for trapezium. So we have an isosceles trapezium. AB is parallel to CD, AD is equal to 5, and the difference of the parallel sides is 8 centimeters. So find the height of the trapezium. Okay, let us draw a figure first. So this ABCD is the trapezium. It's an isosceles trapezium. So this should be equal to this. This is parallel to this. A is perpendicular dropped from A on CD and BF is perpendicular dropped from B on CD. Okay. So as I just discussed in the previous slide, this figure ABFE will become a rectangle. So if that is a rectangle, then AB will be equal to EF, right? Okay. And let us say height of the trapezium is H. So let's say this is H. Fine. So can I say CD minus AB is 8 centimeters? This thing is 8. Why is it 8? Because it is given in the question. The difference of the parallel sides is 8 centimeters. Okay. So can I say ED plus CF, that will be 8 centimeters, because this CD is this entire length, right? In this I have to subtract AB. CD minus AB is 8. Now AB is same as EF. So in the entire length CD, if I subtract EF, then I am left with DE plus CF. So DE plus CF will be 8 centimeters. And we had discussed in the previous slides in that in case of isosceles trapezium, these two will be equal. So if DE or ED plus FC is equal to 8, then these two are equal, so they must be 4, 4 each, right? And the length of AD is 5, that is given in the question. Length of AD is 5. And this is a right angled triangle. So using Pythagorean triplets, can I say this H must be equal to 3, okay? Because 3, 4, 5 is a Pythagorean triplet. So the height of the trapezium is 3, fine. So you can do that in this figure itself. The working you can see here, it's an isosceles trapezium, so BC will be equal to AD will be equal to 5 centimeters. We have already discussed. DE will be square root of AD square minus H square, that is use of Pythagoras theorem. FC will be square root of BC square minus H square, that is also Pythagoras theorem. And as AD is equal to BC, so DE is equal to FC will be 4 centimeters each, okay? And then applying Pythagoras theorem, you can get the value of H. But as I said, you don't have to write all these steps, because what we are concerned is the answer. So we don't have to write each and every step to get to the answer. So this will be 4, this is 5 which is already given, so the height must be equal to 3, fine. So this is your answer, option A. Alright. Now let us look at what is a cyclic quadrilateral. So cyclic quadrilateral is another type of quadrilateral. It is not a parallelogram, it is not a trapezium, it is a different kind of quadrilateral. So it's a quadrilateral in which all the 4 vertices lie on the circumference of a circle. Okay, remember this carefully. If all the 4 vertices lie on the circumference of a circle, then such a quadrilateral is known as a cyclic quadrilateral. The same thing can be said as if a quadrilateral is inscribed in a circle, which means all the 4 vertices are on the circumference, then it is called a cyclic quadrilateral. So in the figure you will see ABCD is a cyclic quadrilateral, fine. Now properties of cyclic quadrilateral. In a cyclic quadrilateral, the sum of opposite angles, not opposite sides, sum of opposite angles is 180 degree. So this angle plus this angle, the sum will be 180 degree. These two angles are not equal, these two angles are supplementary, okay? So angle A and angle C are supplementary. Similarly, angle B and angle D, they are also supplementary, fine. And now suppose this angle is X, okay? Draw an exterior angle here, fine. So let's draw an exterior angle here. So if this angle is X, this angle must be 180 minus X, because opposite angles are supplementary. And if this angle is 180 minus X, then this angle has to be X, because these two angles form linear pair. So can I say that this angle is equal to this angle? So we'll say in a cyclic quadrilateral, any exterior angle is equal to interior opposite angle, okay? Any exterior angle is equal to interior opposite angle. Similarly, this angle here will be, this is an exterior angle, it will be equal to, this is an exterior angle, this will be equal to the interior opposite angle, which is this. So this angle and this angle, they will also be equal, fine. So remember that in a cyclic quadrilateral, opposite angles are supplementary and any exterior angle is equal to the interior opposite angle, fine. Okay. Now this is another property which is true in cyclic quadrilateral, and this property also has a name. It is known as Ptolemy's theorem. Okay. In the name T is silent, so it is known as Ptolemy's theorem. So this theorem says AC into BD, which is nothing but product of the diagonals. So AC into BD is equal to sum of the product of opposite sides. So AB and CD are opposite sides. BC and AD are also opposite sides. So in a cyclic quadrilateral, product of the diagonals is equal to sum of the product of opposite sides of the quadrilateral. Fine. Okay. For finding the area of a quadrilateral, what you do is you apply this formula. This formula is somewhat similar to Heron's formula, so it will be easier for you to remember. So if the length of the sides are A, B, C and D, this is C. If the length of the four sides are A, B, C, D, then the area is given by square root of S minus A into S minus B into S minus C into S minus D. And what is S? S is nothing but semi-perimeter. So sum of all the sides divided by 2, that is S. Fine. Okay. Let's look at a question based on cyclic quadrilateral. So there is a figure, question 33 on your sheet. In the figure shown, ABCD is a cyclic quadrilateral with AB parallel to CD. So AB is parallel to CD. Angle BCD is equal to 70 degree. It is shown in the figure. Angle FBE is equal to 50 degree. That is also shown in the figure. Find angle ADB. We have to find angle ADB, which means this angle. Fine. Now angle DBC is 50 degree. DBC is 50 degree. Why? Because vertically opposite angles. Fine. Angle ABC is equal to 180 degree minus 70, which is 110 degrees. Why? Because AB and CD are parallel, and we have learned when two lines are parallel and there is a transversal, then the sum of interior angles is 180 degree. So triangle ABC, which means this entire angle and this angle, these two are supplementary because CD and AB are parallel lines and CF is a transversal. So this entire angle is 180 minus 70, which is 110. Okay. So this entire angle is 110. So the entire angle is 110 and this much angle is 50 degree. So what is this angle? This angle must be 60 degree. Why? 110 minus 50. So angle ABD must be 60 degrees. Fine. Now using the property of cyclic quadrilateral, can I say angle DAB and angle DCB, these are opposite angles of a cyclic quadrilateral. So opposite angles of a cyclic quadrilateral, they are supplementary again. So if this angle is 70, then here the angle must be 110 again. Okay. So this 110 is because of cyclic quadrilateral. So this is 110 because this is 70. Sum of opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral is 180 degree. Now you just have to focus on triangle ADB. Focus on triangle ADB. In that triangle you have already got two angles, 110 and 60 degree. So the third angle will be 180 minus the sum of 110 and 60, which is nothing but 10 degrees. So now we are applying angle sum property in a triangle. So angle ADB is equal to 10 degrees. What is the answer? Answer is option A. Okay. I hope the question was clear to you. Fine. So this is all about the properties of quadrilaterals. In part 2 of this session, we'll look at the properties of circles and some examples of the application of the properties and theorems of circles. And thank you.